Hi there, it's Marilyn Hawes again with my show with Unprecedented TV called Heart and Soul. And you can find us on YouTube. I'm also CEO of Freedom from Abuse, which is a charity that delivers training and advocacy for people that are stuck in all sorts of abuse, whatever it is, which seems to be an increasing problem in society today. But with Heart and Soul, I'm inviting anyone that's got a really special, exciting or tragic story as a guest to come on my show. So if you have a situation or something that you'd like to discuss that you've never been able to get your rant out, please contact me on Unprecedented TV and we can discuss the issues that most people don't want to have to face, and it could happen to us tomorrow. And then we kick the elephant out the room, and hopefully that way people can understand better what people have gone through. But I decided this week I'm going to do something completely different, and I have a lovely guy coming on who we'll describe in a minute, but we are going to call this episode Life Behind the Lens. And the amazing Stephen Brand is about to come on the screen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Very good indeed.
Oh, you've disappeared. Thank you. Thanks ever so much for your time. You're a difficult man to sort of hook down. So let me just tell people how I first met you. I first met Steve when he had to come up on a very wet night from Bristol. I've been asked to talk to Jeremy Kyle in London. Do you remember that, Steve?
Yeah.
And so Steve has been in this living room here behind me and completely changed it for me. And I refused to go into London because it was dark, it was late, and I didn't want to go. And Steve and I got talking, and we've been in touch with other things that are in the can. And I thought, well, what an interesting guy. Let's have him on. So I got his CV, and you cannot believe I am talking to grandeur. I cannot believe I've never seen. Look at this. It's pages and pages and pages of paper. It's extraordinary. I could wallpaper the walls with it, Steve. So what is GBCT? So I got here, Stephen Brand GBCT Association ACO. What does that stand for?
Yeah. So it's the Guild of British Camera Technicians. So if you work in the British film industry, there are different organisations for camera, sound, grips, and that is one of the senior ones for the camera department. And the other one is I'm an associate in the ACO, which is the Association of Camera Operators, which again is very much film commercials related. So
what I want to go back to. I want to go back to I'm always interested how anyone that comes on this show, I always want to know, because I'm basically a nosy cow. I just want to know, how did you one day wake up thinking, I am going to be in films, or did you think, because so many kids don't really know what they want to do. So I mean, how many years have you done this for, and what drove you? Were you always into media or not?
Yeah, I've been a freelance camera operator, DOP, cinematographer for 30 years now. But I studied as a surveyor originally.
What, like, as an architect?
Well, it was a quantity surveyor actually, which was so completely and utterly different. You know, it's like a construction accountancy sort of thing. But when I was at school, I was very interested in art and drawing and watercolors and painting, and then photography, and that got me interested in the image. And I'd always been interested in film and TV since I was a kid. So you know, I love watching films and documentaries. So I strangely ended up, now in those days there were less of these media courses. Now there are media courses all over the place. I mean, there's thousands of kids get pumped out of the system every year with some sort of qualification in media as it is. But going back then, there were very, very few. And I ended up doing the surveying degree, and I ended up working over in Jamaica for a year. As a surveyor, but when I came back, I decided it's not what I wanted to do, and I ended up getting in touch with an old friend of mine who was in Bristol, where I've been at university, and came back down and sort of started working with him, and then went freelance straight away. So yeah, that was 31 years this year.
I mean, that is quite a leap of faith, really, isn't it? Because you're a paid quantity surveyor, you know, nice income coming in, and I mean, I find stuff like freelance stuff I do, it's at the end of every month, is anyone going to pay you?
Especially these days.
The check's always in the post, or I haven't got the invoice, and that's a huge leap from having a paid employment to, oh, I just go freelance, when you haven't really got at that stage a lot of stuff behind you. Or different then.
I think when I came down to Bristol, I had £400 in a Halifax bank account, and I had a beaten up car that was worth about £400, and that was all I had. So there's a very big sort of impetus to get out there and work, but it was a different time then, because, as I say, now everything has very much changed in the last few years, and everybody, if you think going back then, I mean, the iPhones and only came out in 2008, so everything before then was actually physically phones, and it was all, in those days, it was all on film and video. So you had to have, if you wanted to film something, you couldn't pop your phone out. It was a bloody great camera. So yeah, it was a different time then, and there were less chances of getting in, and I just managed to wangle my way in, because like lots of areas of life, if you've got family there, or if you've got people who are going to get you an in, but I didn't have any of those at all. So I managed to sort of work my way in and started working, and yeah. And we do it, and I'm still here every year. I sort of get to the end of the year and go, oh, I've survived another year.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I still think there's great merit in that. I think, gone are the days, sadly, when your personality and your ability was the thing that got you in the door, wasn't it? It's so much harder now. You've got to have that magic piece of paper. I mean, I've seen so many people that have got degrees and should never be in teaching, not even doing the subject that they're teaching. I mean, it's just, the person shines in the interview, and yet you can't get past that without, I mean, you presumably now, you would have to have, I mean, what would a young person starting now have to go through to get to where you are now? I mean, so you do a media degree, do you? And then I've taught on various media degrees, and I help out every so often. I mentored someone recently on one of the courses, but I think you can. I mean, the thing is, to get onto the courses, you need some sort of background. So you've got some sort of background in art or photography, or you've made some films, you've done something to go on the course. I think the problem now is there's so many people coming out. That is the problem, and there isn't the work there, especially in the current climate, for all of them to get a job in the business in some sort of way. So I would always say that you've got to be really passionate about it. You've really got to be. You get knocked down, and you've got to get yourself up and get dusted off and start again. There's a song about that, isn't there?
but when you do that about 1,000 times, it gets harder and harder. But you've got to, and it doesn't matter if you're an actor or if you're behind the camera. It's a pretty brutal business, and surviving in it financially, unless you've got someone out there that's gonna, or rich parents that are gonna look after you, survive. And I never had that, so you have to go out and make your own way in it. It is really difficult.
Yeah, a lone ranger, really, aren't you? I mean, have you seen a big change? I mean, COVID must have upset things massively, but dare I say the word with Trump? Have you seen a lot of stuff, sort of like get blocked?
There was last year. I mean, last year there was a lag last year in the film business at the start of sort of April, May, June, the start of the financial year, as it was, because there were the fires in LA, so that delayed things for quite a time. And that delayed things because and then Trump announced this 100% tariff, which I know of a couple of films that didn't start because of that, because the producers are suddenly going, whoa, what is it, 100% tariff, what does that mean? Who's paying for that? Where's the money coming from? So, and that seems to have gone away for the moment. But then that's what Trump does. He announces things and doesn't always follow through with them. So yeah, the business has been affected since COVID. What we have now in the last 10 years is the rise of the streamers. So all the streaming companies like Netflix and Amazon, they are powerful. That's where the money is. And people aren't going to the cinema like they used to do.
No, that's very true.
And if you made a sort of independent film, you'd have a cinema release. And then in the old days, you'd have a DVD release, and DVD releases used to make a lot of money for independent films. But people aren't buying DVDs anymore. They're getting rid. Although funny enough, I heard the other week that there's a slight resurgence in people getting DVD players and watching stuff on DVDs again. A bit like kids who are shooting stuff on film cameras and listening to vinyl, records.
Exactly. For a short time in my life, I was actually manager of a charity shop, and the number of people that wanted the vinyls, the old LPs, a proper record player, as it was called. But in a way, though, I'm not surprised that there's a resurgence of DVD, because when you look at the costs, you want to watch a film, and suddenly your Sky contribution says, well, if you want to hire this or rent this, that's going to be £6. And you think, well, I could have got that in a charity shop, I mean, they're still flogging the DVDs there. So I could actually see, with the way things are going, and people are, I think, cancelling some of their, I've had to cancel some of my online subscriptions for streaming stuff. And, another thing that's irritated me, I don't know if you've seen this as well, is I like watching films like you do, but there seem to be so many series now. You think, oh, I'll watch that film, and oh my gosh, I've just locked into series 3. Well, where's series 1? And you're stuck with this story for weeks on end because it's now. I find it, maybe it's me, difficult to actually watch a film, or basically trying to find it.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch a film and a film is an hour and a half or 2 hours long, that you've invested those 2 hours in it. But if you're watching a series and the series has got 20 episodes in season 1 and 20 episodes in season 2 and the same season, that's 60 episodes of an hour. It's 60 hours worth, and you've really got to invest and go, well, I'm going to stick with this and go with this. And some of those seasons, I mean, some of the things out there are absolutely fantastic. I mean, things like Breaking Bad, going back, which is quite old now, are fantastic. But there are so many seasons and series out there. Funny enough, it's Netflix and Amazon. What they used to do was, when a season came out, they dump all the 10 or 15 or 20 episodes in one day. Now what they're doing is they've cut back and they're reducing how many episodes are in a season, but they're releasing them weekly again, a bit like the BBC used to. They've pulled back because it takes a year to make a series or a season.
Yeah.
And then people watch it in a weekend and it's done. So they're now drip feeding it out again.
Yeah.
But that
makes sense. So have I read this right on your CV? You did Doctor Who, didn't you?
I did. I did my business partner years and years ago, just before I got into the camera department, was quite a famous special effects guy. Called Ian Scoons, and I think there's a photograph on there of him rigging me with a squib, which is when you get shot on film, it's a small explosive device that blows blood everywhere. And he was quite famous because he'd worked on Hammer House of Horror, and he'd worked on the original Thunderbirds in the 60s, and then he went to Doctor Who. So I worked with him on Doctor Who, but years later I actually did Doctor Who Confidential, which was the behind the scenes on Doctor Who when they relaunched it in the early noughties. So I do have a link with him to the original Doctor Who, and then doing all the behind the scenes stuff later on.
So what is your favourite genre, if you like, to film? Well, number one, like, what do you find the most interesting and the most inspiring, and the easiest, if anything is easy?
People, that's the funny thing with students that turn up thinking they're going to waft into the media or film business and it's all very glamorous and lovely. And in fact, it's very long hours and it's very hard work. So yeah, there's nothing that's easy. Usually the stuff that's more difficult to make is the stuff you're most proud of. I mean, I used to do quite a lot of sort of documentary work, and things like I did a natural history series where there's a big group of 30 of us, and we went off with Cape Humble and a US presenter who's unfortunately passed away. I called my degree, and we were diving on the Second World War wrecks, the Japanese wrecks across the Pacific. And they were looking for new fish species, and we were going onto islands that had been left over from the Second World War. Wow. Places like little islands like Peleliu, where there was like a 2-mile across island, but there were still Japanese bodies still there. The stuff was still booby trapped. There were explosives still. They're just left over from the war. So it was some sort of surreal Disneyland. It was amazing. And we dived on the ship called the Fujikawa, which is a Japanese supply ship that was in about 30-40 meters of water, but sitting upright. So the ship is sitting on the bottom of the seabed, and we dived down to it. And yeah, that was an amazing sort of wildlife, natural history. That's natural history series out of Bristol. But that was quite a long time ago. That was
Bristol, don't they? That's where they do a lot of they're based in Bristol, aren't they? Those sort of
yeah. I mean, Bristol is effectively the Hollywood of wildlife. It's all based out of there. Yeah. Unfortunately, at the moment, though, they're going through really, really difficult times. They had lots of commissions from the streamers after COVID, and a lot of that stuff has come to an end now. And they are finding it really difficult. There aren't those commissions out there like it used to be. So they are, big blue chip. And they are having real difficulties, surviving. I
absolutely love wildlife programs. I do. I never get tired of them. I really do. And of course, David Attenborough, what an icon. I mean, I see here as well, though, you did. I mean, there must be things that are really, really quite edgy, if you like. You did something in Tiananmen Square.
Oh yeah, that was a thing for ITV. Actually, we were doing a travel. We were doing a travel. Sort of 2 weeks across Hong Kong and China, and that was then sort of edited into segments that went out over a couple of weeks. The funny thing was in Tiananmen Square is we got permission to go in, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, about 6 or 8 troops march across the square and raise the flag, and we got permission, myself and the producer, presenter, and soundman, to film this procession coming out and raising the flag. So you had to be there really early, and it happened at 6 in the morning. But they keep the crowds ever since, obviously, Tiananmen Square 1989. Ever since then, they keep the crowds about 250 meters back behind cordons. It's completely empty. So on the stroke of 6 o'clock, these guys came across the road, goose-stepped across the road, put the flag on and raise the flag. So during the process, I was at one side filming them come across the road. Then I sort of ran round, got the shot of them putting the flag on and then raising it, and the flag goes up, and then they march back, and filmed that, went back to the producer and said, "Oh yeah, got everything, that's all good." Soundman said, "That's all good." And the producer, she turned to me and went, "You know that bit where you ran? They all went for their guns." Which she obviously only told me afterwards, but I didn't see, because I was staring at a viewfinder and trying to get the shots. And so yeah. And then they released the cordons, and everybody was allowed to come into the square, and that was it. And that happens every day. So yeah. Don't run when they're raising the flag, and when guys have got AK-47s.
Oh, good grief! I mean, it really is a fair mix of stuff you've done. I mean, with the countries you've been here. So I'm going to quickly read my Iceland, France, Monte Carlo, Latvia, Poland, Holland, Croatia, Bosnia, Spain, Italy, Belgium, Germany, Grenada, Zambia, Namibia, across the whole of the USA, China, Hong Kong, Cuba, Cameroon, Pacific Islands, Brazil, South Africa, Qatar, Barbados, Lapland, Belgium, Portugal, I'm still going, Switzerland, Turkey, Greece, and Mauritius. Hell's teeth. Where haven't you been?
Well, no, there's loads of places I haven't been to, actually. I mean, that's the thing, is I can't remember half the times. You go to places and go, I've been here before, and I can't remember where. I do that in this country all the time. I go through up somewhere and go, when was the last time I was here? I did something here, I can't remember what it is. So, but yeah, there are key things. Like I did quite a few sort of documentary shoots for BBC4, which are really nice. I mean, they're always underfunded, the BBC, they're always underfunded, but they're very nice topics. And well, not nice topics, but very interesting topics. You get to meet very interesting people. I mean, I did a series in 2014 called Britain's Greatest Generation, with a local production company here in Bristol. And it was people who, I think the youngest person was 89 and the oldest person at the time was 114. And so, they were, I mean, in fact, one of the closest interviews I've ever done to home was like 200 meters from home, was a guy called Johnny Johnson, who was one of the last surviving dambusters. And he was unfortunately now since passed away, but they're very interesting. I mean, over the years you get to, you met guys that were in Colditz or were in, who escaped from the Great Escape and those sort of things.
Yeah.
A lot of them, they're all passed away, unfortunately, now. But they were very interesting people to meet and interview. And they always used to say the same sort of thing. I didn't do much, and then you sit them down and you get them talking. And it's some of the stories are what they went through. Some of them, I mean, one of the guys there who was on the bridge over the River Kwai building that. I mean, what they went through was unbelievable. How they survived. So I do find it really.
Find certain films you're in, and when you're getting down to that sort of real one-to-one and you're listening to the interview and filming it, is there anything that particularly from memory that really left you shaken afterwards?
I mean, I wouldn't say shaken. If you're see, a lot of these documentaries are very, very small crews. There'll be you and the sound man, director, maybe a presenter. Quite often, with lots of the beef stuff, there was never money for sound men, so I was doing camera and sound, and you'd be in. I mean, we did it. There's an old friend of mine who was a producer director at the BBC. He's now become quite a well-known presenter. A guy called David Olashoga. He was in the Celebrity Traitors. I think it was number 3, down to the last 3 on the Celebrity Traitors earlier this year. Well, David was he's a very knowledgeable, extremely knowledgeable historian. And we were doing, in fact, there's a book he wrote called Britain. It was about genocide in Namibia. And we got permission from the president's office. We had to fly into Windhoek. Got permission from the president's office, and we went down to film in this area where no one had ever filmed before. And there were all these sort of mass graves from the start of the 20th century. And it was very emotional because you've got like the bodies of 3,000 people, sort of skulls and bodies, and you're filming all that sort of stuff. But you've got to be very, very focused. You can't get emotional at the time. You can be emotional afterwards, but you've got to get it. We only had a limited window. And then what happened was the police came into it, even though we got cleared it with the police came in to arrest us because certain people didn't want us filming down there, didn't want us filming this area. And so at that point, and this is when we were filming on cameras with tape in those days, we're being arrested and taken back to the police station. And I'm basically taking the tapes out the camera and hiding them down the back seats of the car and putting blank ones back in the camera. So if they pull the footage, we've got the footage still and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, we went back, they put us behind bars. And one of the guys with us, what they didn't realize was one of the guys with us who was very blonde and very Danish, he's married. His wife, her father is the president's doctor. So basically, the phone calls were made and threats were made to this policeman to immediately release us. Otherwise, he would be behind bars himself. So those sort of things happen. I mean, getting out of Cameroon under gunfire, that sort of stuff.
Oh my life! I mean, have you done? I mean, it is a case of who you know, isn't it? The president's wife.
Well,
that married to the doctor. I mean, have you actually filmed like in an actual war zone, like Bosnia?
No. I that's the one thing there are certain sort of person that goes into war zones, and they become, I think, a lot of them become quite addicted to it, and that's pretty brutal when you're in that situation where people are literally dying around you. I was never, and I think my mother always said to me, there's 2 things I don't want you to do. One is ride a motorbike, and 2 is go to a war zone. I've done the motorbike thing, but war zones I steer clear of. Yeah, it's
when you get So do you get approached, or are you always having to sort of ferret around and say, what you're doing, do you want me? Or approached, how involved are you in that particular documentary or film?
Oh, you're very much. I mean, if there's in some of those BBC4 documentaries, there was just like 2, maybe 3 of us. So literally, there's not a massive crew. And that's a really interesting thing with documentary, because you have very limited resources, and you have to sort of find. I mean, I was shooting with a director producer friend of mine who was David Equivalent. We were shooting a series. I think it was the history of mixed race. It was for 2012. There was a series there, and we were shooting in South Africa and then Brazil, and we were shooting in the favelas in Rio.
That's frightening.
And I don't think the BBC didn't really. Well, our security guards we were filming with a guy who was doing this graffiti painting, and he was actually head of one of the gangs. So basically, our security was his guys. That's why we were okay, because we were filming with him, and he was one of the gang members. So that was okay.
My daughter, when she went travelling, like they do at 19. I mean, now I realise what it actually means and what she went through and stuff. I would never have let her get on the plane, but people do. I mean, she saw lots of people die because as youngsters they weren't listening to the safeguarding, like in Australia. Don't do this, don't go out on the buggy things, don't swim, and they would die. And she said, I'm not stupid, Mum, I listen. However, Brazil, Rio, she got on a bus that took her to that area. It's a bit different. Going, get out, and she was like, well, what have I done? You be shot. Yeah. I mean, we were filming in Cameroon and filming just a small crew of us filming because it was the jungle. The other side of that jungle is in the Congo. It's basically the Congo, but we couldn't go. It was too dangerous. So we were shooting in the jungle, and it was actually a visual effects shots I was doing projections in the jungle, projecting and filming it all back off. But during that time, I think the price of fuel, which is very current to what's happening now, the price of fuel in the country was doubled literally overnight, and people were rioting, and cars were burning, and people in the streets with machetes and this sort of stuff. And this was another BBC shoot, and they just said, "Oh, go back to the hotel and stay there and just keep safe." But eventually, we had to sort of get out of the country. We had to hire the army. We had to hire a local colonel and a bunch of 9. Responsible? Do you take the responsibility for that, for your own safety?
No. Well, funny enough, what happened was the hotel we were in, we had to get. It was 2 hours back to, I think it was Limbe, to fly out, and we had to get the 2 hours back. So we paid. I don't know how much we paid. We paid so much to the local colonel and a bunch. It looked like a bunch of 19-year-olds with AK-47s to drive us security to get us back. And as we're going for the Freeport, I know that was burning and with gunshots going off. But funnily enough, there was a lady who was in the hotel who she had been up there for a couple of months, and she was working with the guerrillas up in the jungle. And she'd come back to the hotel, and she was supposed to be sort of flying back to Ireland, and she'd run out of money, and the hotel were going to kick her out. She had no money left, and she had a ticket. And we were both flying Air France, as it was my favourite airline. Not. You always have interesting things happen when you fly with Air France, like you losing all your baggage. But she was flying from the other airport with Air France, and we said that you've got an Air France ticket. We'll get in the car, and basically got her in the car, and that's when we had an argument with the colonel, because we've only paid for 2 of us to go back, not 3. And we said, do you want the money or not? So we squeezed her in the car, got her in the car, got her to the airport. Went to check in, and there were 4 people on this full flight. 4 of us booked in to fly back to Paris on this flight. And Air France said to her, your ticket is not from here, your ticket's from the other airport back to Paris. And we went, but you've got a completely empty plane, and she's got a paid ticket. And they were just being really, really difficult, to the point where started getting the camera out the bag, and the guy's going, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to start filming this, and I'm going to post it, because if she dies and gets killed, Air France are going to love the publicity, and they'd let her straight on the plane."
Whoa,
we got.
good move. Talk about thinking on your feet. I mean, that's.
Oh no, in those days, and less so now. But if you get a big camera out, people start taking notice. So
oh,
you
they
start
do.
pointing at
They
people.
do.
Yeah.
And I have seen when you came to film me that night. I have seen the contents of your. Good Lord!
That was only a small amount. That was only a small amount of kit to turn your room into a small studio. Yeah.
I mean, when you think, over the years, you must have accumulated so much stuff. And were lenses back then better than they are now?
No, well, funny enough, we're using cameras now. We're using lenses that are 50, 60 years old. We're using lots of vintage lenses to get those sort of vintage looks. Lots of films now use old glass. I mean, I've actually, funny enough, I've got some sitting here which I'm playing with at the moment. These are 60-year-old lenses, so yeah. It's not always the newest.
That's like the old cameras. When I was first a mum, I had a Canon Sure Shot, and you used to go to a camera shop, didn't you? And this guy said Canon lens is really, really good. I mean, I know absolutely F all about anything like this, but I used to get some brilliant photos of the kids. I really did. I mean, talking about airlines, now there's somewhere you might like to go and film. You haven't been there; it's not on your list. I'm flying to Bermuda on Sunday.
Oh, fantastic!
Have you done a Bermuda Triangle?
I haven't. No, I haven't actually. No, I'd love to.
You ought to go there. I mean, it is an extraordinary place. It is the rim of, I shouldn't be doing it, should I? Because it's a nice little jewel in the ocean that not many people even think about. They think about Barbados, but not Bermuda. Yeah. But it's extraordinary. It's literally the rim of half a rim of a volcano. And underneath it are all these caves, and like a bit like Cheddar Gorge, but even better. And it was discovered about 100 years ago with a couple of lads playing cricket, and they lost the ball down this hole. And they went back the next day and went down and found it. And they discovered the Crystal Caves, as they're called. But they're stunning, utterly stunning. But of course, some posh person took it over. They could have made a fortune from that, but they were just two young lads playing cricket. But it's an extraordinary place. Your photography over there, you ought to try and get in there. I'm telling you. Oh
yeah, I'd love to see. I mean, I've done bits and pieces. I lived in Jamaica. I've filmed in Barbados, Cuba, Grenada. That was lovely. So various islands, And
there's lots of wreckage underneath because of the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
Do that with it's something to do at some certain point the compasses go absolutely bonkers, and that's right.
It's magnetic field of some kind.
That's right. And they've got, it's only a little tiny island with 60,000 people on it, but it's got an awful lot of information. Their natural history place is extraordinary, and they have a thing on sailing around the island and the Bermuda Triangle and all the tall ships race and all that sort of thing that goes on there. It's a buzzy little place, but it is stunning. It is my happy place. You really ought to take your camera over there. Honestly, truly, you really would. So, out of everything you've done, this is going to be horrendous for you to answer. What is the one you are most proud of, and why?
Oh dear, that's like asking your favourite song, isn't it? I mean, they all have.
That is difficult. I agree with you.
I mean, as I say, they're bits of documentary. I mean, I did a film a number of years ago, which was released in the cinema just after COVID in 22, and that's with a friend of mine, Adam Oldroyd. I worked with Adam quite a few times over the years. We've done some short films together. We did a series. He directs a series called Andy's Safari Adventures, Andy's Aquatic Adventures, which is the kids series for BBC, which I did chunks of that with him when we did a film called Sideshow with Les Dennis. So I think you've got a picture there of us with Les, and Les all sort of taped up. And that was in the cinema in 2022, and that goes back to the independent British film thing. I think when we had that was in the cinema back then, I think 4% of British independent films make it to the cinema. So most don't. And now I think it's less than 1%. So getting a film in actually with a release in the cinema now, especially independent British films, is really, really difficult. So I'm quite proud of that.
But you have been on the red carpet, haven't you, at the Cannes Festival? Have you not?
Oh yeah, I did a documentary, 1997, 1998, we the couple of us went over there to shoot a sort of behind the scenes of what went on. This is before these behind the scenes sort of docos were really a thing. Funnily enough, we a teaser tape of what we shot was sent to all the big broadcasters, and the following year we went back to shoot some more in '98, and they all came over and ripped us off. And that was one of the first lessons I learned in don't tell them what you're doing until you've got a signed contract, because they will come and rip you off.
I think that's life in general. If you're in any sort of business, isn't it? You really, it is. And I like to trust people, so I find it very difficult to say, oh, I need you to sign an NDA, or I need you to do this. You know, people say never work with children and animals.
Yeah, children and animals, and on water.
All three together at the same
All three
time.
together is an absolute nightmare. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, kids, it's quite obviously difficult with kids because they're restricted on how many hours they can work in a day anyway. And it depends if they're child actors or not. I mean, the thing is, I remember taking a film kit into my son when he was very small at primary school, and I took the film kit in to show the class. And it's interesting, when I filmed in schools before, when you put a camera up for the first half an hour, they just muck around. After half an hour, they forget you're there, and that's when you get the stuff that's sort of real gems. I do.
I think those natural things. I think when you go to a wedding, you know, these awful stage photos, and the camera person walking around and taking the strange shots, the stupid people dancing, they are the most interesting, without a doubt. So I'm going to ask you that. So what's the worst thing, the one you're least proud of or hated the most?
Oh, God, most of those are erased from my memory, I think.
Stick it in a bin.
Well, they're not least hated. Probably the more difficult ones are a bit like, you know, trying to get out of Cameroon under, you know, gunfire or whatever, or being arrested in Namibia, or so those are event. I wouldn't say hated, because they become their event. They're not boring. I've been on many shoots that are boring over the years, and you know. It's not all, that's the thing, is it's not all glamorous. These are the things I'm talking about here, are sort of key events over 30 years. There are times when if you're not working, there's no money coming in. Then those are quite difficult. But there are times when you get to be asked to go and be, I don't know, there's 10 cameras on something, you're just standing behind a camera holding off a wide shot and not doing much, and you're just trying to stop from falling asleep. So those are, so when you're busy, we all like to be busy, because that makes things less, you know, more interesting when you're busy. But yeah, I mean, some of the stuff I've been doing in the last few years, which is very niche and specialized, which is I work with a company called Driving Plates, which are a US company, and we shoot with 9 cameras, so 8 in a circle, one at the top. We shoot all these backgrounds for basically when you get actors driving in a car in studio, and they're sitting there driving like that, and you think the car's not moving, the backgrounds that all go around them. And quite often we get to work with the stunt guys, and we have to match what the stunt guys are doing, and so you get the stunt shots, and then so it makes the actors look good. The actors are just sitting there doing this, and it makes the actors look like they're flying all over the place. So that's quite niche and quite specialized. And there are, in fact, if people have got Instagram, they can go onto Instagram, and it's Driving Plates UK or US. And they can see.
I have a feeling you sent me a shot of that. You were doing, I don't know where it was. You were doing something, and you were like hanging off the back of a van or a lorry or something, or a flatbed thing, and you were like,
"Oh, that was I think you've got a shot of that. That was for that was with Simon Callow. It was for a series, and he was on a scooter, and we were at Longcross, which is one of the studios, and we were going around there, sort of. So basically, if you film on the road, it can be very dangerous. So there are certain roads in the country which are on either film studio sets, or they're locked off roads, so they're private roads. So it looks like you're on a real road, but you're not. And we were tracking around there with a couple of cameras, filming him on what looked like he was on a real scooter, but this scooter was bolted down, and he was being tracked behind us. And he was acting, and so I think you've got a shot or two of that on there.
I think I remember you sending me it, because often you sort of say to me, "Look where I am now," and
yeah, what am I doing now?
Have you ever been? I have to ask you this because this is the area of my work. Have you ever filmed in prisons?
Have I ever filmed in prisons? I don't think I. No, I think I have at some point. I'm trying to think where and when it was. Maybe not.
I think, because I always think that would be, I must be weird, but I actually find them fascinating places because there's a whole different world. And, you know, some people are still, some of the really nice people in there, others less so. But I always
for a reason.
In documentary to go into, you know, and just see how people came to be there. What was their childhood like? What?
Yeah. The mistakes they made, the wrong turns they made.
Exactly right. And my, you know, what I do when I ask them, first thing I ask them is, tell me about your first 3 years of your childhood.
Yeah.
And then I've, you know, and there's a good thing that they have a documentary that, and it's actually a charity now that they did in America called Step Into the Circle. And they just tried this out as a sort of a pilot thing, really. And they went to one of the hardcore prisons in America, and it was this woman in the paddock, and all hard lifers were standing around. And she was like, step into the circle if you've ever been hit as a child. Step into the circle if you were verbally abused as a child. Step into the circle if you were like neglected. Step into the circle if you were sexually abused. And by the time she's finished all this, they're right there on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Grown men, literally lifers, are in tears. And it's unbelievable. I was crying. I just thought, this is so sad. And yet, you know, it's all, so much of it goes down to the parenting of it. You know, it's I mean, may I ask, is your mum still alive to see what success you've been? Yes,
my mum's 86 now. My dad's 91.
Oh, wow. And is she
Yeah.
still compass mentis and knows what you're doing?
Yeah, they've seen. I mean, I think both my parents were worried going back to the, you know, when I first got into the industry about, well, why am I leaving a fairly safe career? But I think the problem was my mum's dad. He was in the Royal Ulster Rifles, and he was a professional soldier before the war. So he was went in 1932, before the Second World War, all the way through the Second World War, and ended up right into Greece in 1949, 1950. But during the Second World War, he was in Burma, so he was fighting the Japanese in Burma. And I used to sit with him and watch all these old Second World War films, and he used to tell me these stories.
Wow.
And he had some amazing stories. I mean, he was lost for 6 months, didn't know if he was dead or been blown up in the jungle. And it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't until I went to the jungle and you saw the way he described it, the fact that you could be 2 or 3 feet from someone and not see them, and the heat and what they went through. So the problem was, you see, I had this nice, safe job sitting behind a desk, and you could sit behind a desk for 40 years and I thought, I'll have no stories to tell. And that was the problem.
I quite agree with you, because my dad, he was also a quantity surveyor, right? I don't think he actually really wanted to be one. Well, he didn't like the history and the maths part of it, but he was always very creative. He actually, you know, he'd look at your house and go, tuck that one out, knock that down, stick that out there. I mean, he could see a perpendicular, whether it was not quite right or not, and you know, all sorts of things. That crack, that's you know, that's subsidence. But he also had an amazing ability to design gardens, and used to drive my mother mad. But of that generation, he was always, any job I did, because I wanted to be in acting, and he would let me. No, far too dangerous, far too risky, blah blah blah. And then I thought I wanted to be in the police. No, you can't do that. That's not a job for women. I thought, I don't know what I want to do now. I don't know what I want to do now. And so I just stumbled. Funnily enough, I did several jobs and then stumbled into teaching when there were short of teachers, and got in it that way. And being a sort of music teacher, I think I really sort of in a way got into acting in a way, because I was also drama. So I dabbled with it, and I dabbled with the police of the job I do now, you know. So I mean, it's been, I got there really, but it's not there. But I do think, because I was always changing jobs, and my dad would say, you know, think about your pension. Oh, goodness sake, I'm not going to think about my pension. I want stories.
You have to, he's true though, you have to think about your pension, because one day, the thing about, you know,
I do now.
well, the thing about, they always say with this job is that, you know, you don't leave this job, you know, it leaves you. Suddenly you wake up one day and doesn't need you anymore, and that's it, you're done, sort of thing.
I'm sure you're still extremely very popular though. I mean, it's I mean, you must. Where's somewhere you would like to go, or some genre film or docu you'd like to do? Have you got that in your backpack?
Yeah, I'd love to do some more documentaries again. I haven't done any documentaries really for or saying that. I've got there are some interviews and things coming up next month. But just filming documentaries with a small crew in weird and wonderful parts of the world that I haven't been to. I mean, my mentor's a guy called Mike Fox, who's a BSc cinematographer, and Mike is a very famous documentary cameraman and been all over. I've been to many more places than I can't think of any countries he hasn't been to. And as I say, in those days, I mean, even things like, you know, when we used to do like now you've got drones, you get drone shots of everything. Well, going back to when I first started, if you wanted to do a shot, we used to get in a helicopter, they'd take the side door off, we'd be hanging out the side of a helicopter filming. So, which again, you know, now someone just plops a little drone off in the air and gets the shot. It's much more fun hanging out the side of the chopper doing that. But
yeah, that's it, isn't it? Absolutely right, absolutely right. So, I mean, I think you really should write a book, you know.
Yeah, I think, some of the stuff, people might be a bit worried about me putting it in there, but no,
but I think it would be I think something, because something like you do, even if people didn't want to do what you've done, I think the stories would inspire travel. My geography teacher inspired me when I was at school. She was such a good teacher of geography. That's when my thing came about traveling. And I think for youngsters to read a book of places you've been and the stories within that place and what you did would be extraordinary. I really do think that. You know, I'll put a bit in. I can remember you when you came to see me, and it was a horrible night, I seem to remember, and you were doing everything, and we couldn't get the thing down the wire to Jeremy Kyle. Back of the garden, and oh my gosh! And you had this really expensive camera. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Don't move. And I saw this camera on a tripod coming towards me, and I caught it with my foot. And I thought, and it weighed a ton.
That's the thing. That's the thing these days. The change is that you're doing so many different aspects now that you weren't doing. It depends on what the job is. Obviously, on a film, on a drama, there are lots of people working it, and you've got quite defined roles. But when it comes to anything to do with documentary, or if you do live TV, these days you're doing probably 6 people's jobs.
Well, I thought you were going to have a heart attack. Oh my gosh, you're going to explode. I mean, you were doing absolutely everything, and the pressure coming down at the line. Is she ready? Are you ready? Yes. I'm just going to change the thing. Oh my goodness me! I mean, I was feeling stressed and all that.
That's pretty standard. That's pretty standard these days. It's all literally 5 seconds. It all comes together 5 seconds before it goes on air, and the viewer doesn't see what's actually happening.
Exactly.
And then it ends.
Talking into a lens when you can't see the other person's reaction, it's very strange. But so we've got to finish in a minute. I'm so sorry, because I could talk to you for ages. I find your stories so fascinating. I mean, we always like to leave the show on hope. What would you say to these aspiring youngsters that are going to watch this and go, because I tell you what, there's a young lady at my local pub. I was telling her that I'm going to interview you, and she's doing media stuff and all of that. I said, I am going to send you this interview, and you might get some inspiration from that. What would you say to those youngsters that are she's done a dissertation, they're about to graduate? What would you say to them? Run for the hills, or would you say?
No, I mean, well, the thing I'd say about it before they go, kids before they go on the course is like, you know, just look around you. The most important bits of kit you've got are these 2 things: your eyes. Just open your eyes and look at the world around you. And the funny thing is, people now are walking around with phones with cameras on and taking billions of pictures a day all over the world and billions of bits of video, but not always thinking about what they're filming and what they're looking at.
Yeah.
I was filming in Milan a couple of years ago and went up on, there's a cathedral there, and went up on the roof of the cathedral just before we were flying out. And I couldn't believe it. Everybody was walking around with phones in front of their face. No one's actually looking at anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they were filming and whether they're actually thinking about what they were filming, apart from doing all their lovely poses for their Instagram posts or whatever. But use your eyes, look at what's around you. And if you've got a camera, even on your phone, take photographs, take film, take video. If you're on a course and you've got the opportunity and you've got cameras and equipment there, maximize everything you can. I mean, the thing is, nearly, it's not about the equipment, it's about storytelling. You're telling a story.
Yeah.
And it's like, what story do you want to tell? If it's a documentary, if it's a feature film, if it's a film you're going to make, you're going to put on YouTube, what's the story you're telling? What are you trying to tell people and get them interested in? And it's not really.
That is perfect. And when you say about behind the lens, I'm going to get a thing in my ear in a minute saying I've banged on for too long. It's so interesting. When I was in Bermuda last year, I saw the pods of whales breaching. Yeah. And I was out on a boat and this massive, the tail came up. I'll never forget it. It was colossal and it went splash. Everyone else on the boat had their cameras and they missed the moment.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. You miss the moment while you're so busy faffing around with your camera. The moment are gone.
Yeah.
Steve, it has been, I don't know where the hour's gone. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm inspired. I'm going to have to get my camera out to take lots of videos.
Go out and take
shots. Get on a flight. I am going British Airways. I christened that bloody awful, but there we go.
Send those photographs to me. Send those photographs. Once you take those photographs, send photographs. Yeah.
Stephen, thank you. 1,000 thanks. And it was so nice to do something lighter and different, and really like letting people get out there and think, do you know what? I could photograph that, and I could. It's brilliant advice. Great storytelling. Thank you ever so much, and you take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. Always great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was the amazing Steve Brand, and I really hope that you really enjoyed it. I loved it. And how things have moved on since that one night he came to film me, and we've always stayed in touch. So I really thank him. And hey, wow, what a job, what a life. Anyway, you have a great time, and this is Marilyn Hawes signing off now with Heart and Soul for Unprecedented TV, and I'll be back next week, and I will be doing this from Bermuda. So if you see me in a sundress, don't think that's a bit weird, but it does get very hot over there. So I'll see you over the next 2 weeks from Bermuda. Okay then, thank you. Take care. God bless.